Greetings, mortals. I am Natus, and the end of the week is here, so it's time that we talk about some manga chapters. And honestly, this week it's actually we're very light on the chapters we're gonna be discussing because altogether I think there's only like 5, and even one only came out yesterday. So yeah, we're kind of on the this is probably hopefully gonna be a lot shorter than most of my other videos, but honestly, knowing me, I'll probably talk about every one of these chapters so in detail that it's gonna be 3 hours long or something. But regardless, let's get into this chapter discussions. As we start first off with our light series, "'Tis Time for Torture Princess", chapter 236, titled "Torture 236". And in this chapter, the weaponsmith Gilga returns. In case you're forgetting who she is, she's that weaponsmith, as I said, whose first torture was with Axe to like change a bit of the format. Who I don't want to say that she hasn't appeared in a while in the manga, because in the anime I think in the anime they made her a little bit more prominent, because I think she participated in events or in scenes that she wasn't in. But in the manga, I don't think we've seen her for a while. Like, I mean, maybe I'm forgetting a chapter or two. After all, this is a very long series, it being over 200 chapters long. But regardless, it's been a while since she has appeared. So, yeah. Now this time, I'm assuming it's because the writer probably has a hard time finding a way she could torture Princess in a fun way. But regardless, the writer finally discovered a way to use her, and he discovered that the best way to use her would be to have her say to introduce Gil swords and tell Princess if she tells her a secret, she'll let her hold them. And Princess doesn't know what Gil swords are, as Gilga explains to her that Gil swords are like these very legendary swords who are made by this insanely good craftsmanship, by this amazing swordsmaker who are supposed to be super sharp and amazing all that, but the princess doesn't really care. Like, I think this is kind of supposed to be like a maybe a little meta joke on the anime community. Like, you have some anime fans who are gonna go really insane over anime swords, and oh my god, their swords is this rank, oh my god, all that. But then you have others who are like, it's just swords. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess they're sharper than usual. Like, it's kind of similar thing to my reaction whenever One Piece community goes into insane detail about like how amazing a certain sword is because it's this and this rank. Like, I mean, great, but it's not like it's going to matter massively. But yeah, anyways, Princess just doesn't really care, so Gilga and Axe, basically, because Axe is also like a big fan of swords, because that's kind of like a little joke with the Axe, is the fact he knows about what other swords are famous blades are doing and other famous blades. So yeah, he and Gilga try to explain in detail why they're so great, like how they amazingly they are made and the differences in the blades, because the blades actually look very much the same, which is could also be a joke about how in anime you have like blades who, yeah, you can kind of tell the difference, but most of them kind of, the katanas and blades look about the same when you really break it down to it, and they explain the little differences and all that. But Princess isn't interested in it. And then when she Gilgo even has a trick where they give Princess to allow Princess to hold the thing they're supposed to be using as a threat a bit, so she want more of it. And it does, and Princess does have it, and she does even use it a bit as she cuts the chain ball that she has on her ankles, which honestly, we already know the princess can pull on the chain ball around her ankles and off her ankles wherever that she wants to. But it's even now again kind of remind her that she can even literally cut it off her, like ruin its entire purpose, and she would not use that a chance to escape. So yeah, Princess does say that it's an amazing blade and strong and all, but she likes axe. She has axe. Why would she want this blade? This blade is just, I mean, it's just a super colorable blade. It's nothing else. Which does, make Axe happy that she values him this much as Gilga then realized, oh yeah, of course she will not care about blades because she has axe. Like, it was foolish for me to even think that these blades will be able to get her interest when she loves axe as much as she does. As then she admits defeat, but luckily for her, she drops the chocolate bar that she had on her person as Princess notices and asks what it is. As she says, it's like, I think she was supposed to be like a lunch break or something thing and Giga tells her that, and then you can guess what happened when the final panel of the chapter has Princess talked. I'm honestly convinced at this point Princess wants to eat stuff. It's not even like how it tastes. Just any food would really make her talk. So yeah, that's torture. So Princess gave in at the end to a chocolate bar, as expected. Also, I'm kind of wondering if this is the first time that she's actually given to a chocolate bar because usually they're proper meals, not little snacky snacks. Like there are times where there are snacky snacks, but it's not like a common thing. But anyways, after this lightness, let's go into peakness with 100 girlfriends that really, 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 really love you. Chapter 228. I believe it's two riders. I forgot to write down the title of it for some fucking reason. I don't know. I was in a hurry. I was probably in a bit of a hurry or something. So yeah. Anyways, we start this chapter off by making sure that we are all aware that we are going to have a Shizuku and Mero chapter because. Because it kind of makes sense. You have Shizuku, who's a very much of a bookworm, whose way of dialogue comes mostly from books because of that whole phone thing, and you have a Mero, who's a writer. So we have them talking, and Mero saying that Shizuku could probably would actually be a very good writer, or at the very least, it would be. She's very interesting to see what Shizuku would write. So there's like Asa and Tama being happy after to next to them, but it's just background noise, honestly. So yeah, Shizuku and Mero are gonna be the main focus of this chapter, which. Funny enough, I think this week or the last week there actually was like a fan-made comment by someone who had like I believe I don't know if it was translated in English, but I think it was like the librarian that we signed Shizuku's introduction saw that Shizuku and Mero were together and was like, "Oh, I'm so happy that she's now also besides having a boyfriend, also has more friends to talk to." Because she was like very nice. She understood why Shizuku couldn't really speak. That wasn't really a fan of speaking, but she's just very happy to see that she's also hanging out with some people. There's no able to hang out with people because usually she would probably just be in the library. So yeah. So anyways, Shizuku then process information that Meo tells her that she would be interested in seeing what uh, Mel or thinks of her writing. So she, after a couple of cute panels with her doing homework, eating dinner, being in a bath, and sleeping in bed, which is like this very cute kind of way because like the way Shizuku is drawn, like she has like this. Article looks a bit like oversized. Like the bed does look oversized, even like from my perspective of someone who's 8 years old. Well, actually, Shizuku not 8 years old, but someone whose body is very much of an 8-year-old. Like even from that perspective, that bat looks ridiculously huge because it kind of looks like a cute little bunny or squirrel or something like being like sleeping, cuddling in it like this. But regardless, she then like thinks about it and she does consider writing the fairy tale and she does start writing in her story. But then, and then the next day, Shizuku is very dazed, like she's eating, but it's kind of like, as then Mel realizes, oh, I see you decided to go forward my idea of writing a fairy tale. As Mel is very happy about it, but she does tell her that there's a little bit more of a process to writing. And while you have to write, and you also have to consider your sleep schedule, and that's kind of a bit of a difficult thing because sometimes you get the muse right before you fall asleep, and then if you could probably forget it, or you just did not have as much of a muse to see through it. So she does understand that. So she advises her whenever she does come up with she needs to write it down. You need to drink Monster. Like literally Monster Energy drinks. That's what she tells her to drink. Which I mean, I guess it is supposed to be energy drinks. But personally, to me, it all just tasted like chewing gum. Like really, is it like seriously? Is Monster not just chewing gum, just with a lot of sugar in liquid form? Or am I just crazy to think that? But regardless, Shizuku takes Miro's advice as she's writing the book and doing some. We see like a few panels of her writing it like a lot. We see her like writing on the rooftop while everyone else wants to shoot what she's writing. Then we see her like writing at home a lot. And then Shizuku starts to doubt herself because she's someone who's physically very weak to a comical degree a lot of times. So this time her writing in a book. So this time her writing doing something like writing a fairy tale, which is simpler than a book. It still takes a lot out of her, so she kind of wants to just quit, and she doesn't throw it in the garbage, but she just crumble the papers and puts it next to the can, and she goes back to bed to go sleep, but then she remembers Mary's words, and that encourages her to press forward as she goes to back to writing it, and then I don't think it's the same day. I think it might be a bit of a time gap here that's just not really communicated the best way because that's what implied that Shizuku was so close to finishing her fairy tale that she meant to finish in a couple of hours, and this was also implied that Meru came over in like 3 in the morning because when Shizuku texts her that she finished her fairy tale, Meru just asks if she can come over to check it. So, so I'm assuming this is like a middle of a day. I'm kind of guessing it might be a Saturday, or maybe like after school kind of thing. Plus, I think they're in their school uniforms, so I feel like it probably has to have been. If I remember correctly, they were in their school uniforms in this chapter, so maybe it is a bit after. But regardless, or maybe I'm blanking on the name. Honestly, I can't remember what Miro's wearing when she's in Shizuku's house. But regardless, less I it's some time after she got encouraged again to write it and she went there, which I do have to wonder what. So Mizuku Moto knows that Shizuku has a boyfriend. Boyfriend, she's accepted. Like we had a couple, I think 2 chapters ago. A chapter ago, a moment where she's waiting for Shizuku to and Enter to stop kissing. But I wonder, is she aware of the other girls? Like, what is the understanding of the girl? Like, what's the understanding of the families for the girls? I mean, we know Kusuri's family is aware. We know Hahare's family is aware because they're dating her for quite a lot. But the other families, are they aware of the girls? Like, I'm sure that all the family members are aware of the boyfriends. I'm assuming they all told them except Karane, but the rest, are they aware? Like, are they aware about the other rest of the girls? So when Miro shows up at Shizuku's house, does Shizuku mom know that Miro is also a girlfriend of Renta, or she just thinks, well, I mean, I know Shizuku got a boyfriend, but I didn't know she had a friend. You have a bit of a creepy face. Maybe it's gonna be an extra chapter or something. But regardless, Miro's there and she reads the work as then once she finishes reading, she is brought to tears, and Shizuku is also brought to tears. Uh, and they're both a bit crying as Shizuku actually starts talking a bit in like that very like broken and very quiet voice. Like she's strictly pushing herself to talk to her normally and apologize for her work not being good and all that. But Meru tells her that yes, it's very clear this is amateurish. Like this isn't like top 10 fairy tales a year or something. Like this is not the best. It's just you can tell it worked. And she also apologized for being crumbled because when she felt like she couldn't stop it, she just like kind of crumbled a bit. Whereas like again, it's a good thing. It's a good to show a process. It really kind of gets the feelings out. So Miro compliments Shizuku. Like again, it's amateurish, it's obvious, but it's shown that it's work. And then we kind of get a little bit of a real talk here, which is so weird to get of 100 girlfriends because the way Miro describes the writing process, the feelings, the emotions, the inspirations, and all that kind of feels like it's very much supposed to be in like how the authors themselves feel. Like this isn't like in like comedy skits where it's like a little. I mean, even 100 Girlfriends already had them where they make fun of the whole process about how people how the one I remember is like the Wonder Over Yonder one where Lord Hader or whatever his name was like, this spot is too hard. People who do this, there's a far more credit than they are given. I'm not sure if he was doing a writing or animating, but regardless, one of those two. So it's a for joke at the actual audience. I need to respect the creators a bit more, but this time it's like more for my legitimate, more serious talk. Which I even saw some comments about this chapter be like, did someone replace the author of 100 Girlfriends? Because you know how real this chapter feels. It is about how the whole writing process is, and generally how this real they make this the writing thing in general by showing how much time Shizuku has to take for for the writing and everything. Like I think even Meryl in this chapter is like I think she's shown writing a book somewhere, and then it's like in a hill in a grassy plains to like get some inspiration around her. So yeah, there's like a lot of like time and effort that's being put into this. As Meryl as then when Meryl also starts to compliment the family because it's clear this fairy tale was somewhat inspired by the Rentaro family. Family, I'm not entirely sure how much. I mean, granted, we only see like a. I mean, we don't actually, I think, get like any good like shot of what it was written, but we do get like a few little kind of hints. Like we have like a knight and a princess and a giant bunny. Makes me kind of wonder if we are also gonna have like an extra thing with a characters read this whole thing, and you're gonna notice like a few characters who are kind of paralleling each other. I would honestly not be surprised. I wonder I wonder would if alright. So if Karani were to inspire a villain in this comic, how would have ended with her? Because you know, like when it comes to like depicting a villain, they always kind of use Hakai for fairy tales in that kind of sense. Like you'll see it in season 2. You'll see it there. So yeah. Anyways, Miro then tells her that they should celebrate Shizuku finishing their work with a can of Monster, which is probably supposed to be an allegory for alcohol, like how some writers are. After they finish their book, they go drink a bit. They go drink a bit of alcohol. Like I think what's the movie called? Misery. Like that, the author in that one is very much inspired by Stephen King's experience, and that author, after he finishes his work, he goes into a specific hotel to like take a drink or take a drink and a cigar to a point that even after he has to finish that forced book on him, he still wanted to celebrate it in the same sense. So yeah, it's kind of a similar thing here with. So it's kind of a similar thing here with she's with them like drinking energy drinks, and they even act like they're a little bit drunk. Like Mary was like he. It's like like kind of shaking like it was too strong or something. So yeah, the two are kind of reacting to a bit of that energy drink. So yeah. And then we have the final page of the chapter where we have Meru riding in the library as Shizuko comes to join her and asks if she can join. As Meru says, "Of course." So they're in the library together. It does kind of make me wonder if this is also like if that comic is also what inspired Nozawa Sensei to write this, of this was of that comic itself we got some behind the scenes because like I don't know, it kind of feels a little funny that we're ending it with these two in the library writing together when we had like a comic not long ago with them being in the library together and getting along. So yeah, but anyways, another thing important to mention is apparently the hype. Well, next chapter, the little build up. The next chapter has vacation, which is probably supposed to be like a reference to some because sometimes some manga, especially school manga, have like summer vacation. So I guess this time they're finally gonna be moving some time away from the spring season that they were kind of stuck in for 4 years now, I believe. And they're finally going on vacations. Either that, or they're just going to have a joke about how they can like go on a vacation, like pretend vacation. I also think there's like a little. I think it's also gonna be on multiple chapters, probably to like show everyone's swimsuits fully in detail. But regardless, we have a vacation chapter for the next couple of things, so we'll see in which direction the vacation is gonna go. This is a bit of a question about are there gonna be any kind of foreign girlfriends being met up there if they're going on a vacation? Because sometimes people who go on a vacation usually could also go around the world, and while going around the world isn't really a problem for the girlfriends. Well, unless if we're gonna have the next chapter be like a thing where they have to get a permission to go all on a vacation with everyone. Which I really do have to wonder how that thing would go. Like, I mean, how come you had to have made a pretend like school trip, right? School field trip, right? Like that's what had to have happened for her to be able to get all the girls' parents to agree for them to go, right? Like, there's no way they're just gonna be saying, hey parents, I'm going with Rento and the rest of the girlfriends on vacation. Bye." And they're like, all right, just be back in the end of the week. Wait, what? So, yeah, kind of a weird scenario to be at. And anyways, after 100 girlfriends, we have My Academia, chapter 427, titled "Who Was Tomoya Shigaraki Really?" Which is, I'm guessing supposed to reference the fact how like a lot of like world, I guess the biggest villains in the world or the most historically horrible people, whatever you would want to consider those guys, how they kind of write a book about their life or a book about themselves or something like that, and they release it to the public. And even though everyone kind of hates these people's guts, they still somehow have these books, and they are even still a thing, a bunch of it, like decades after their death. So I'm guessing this is what this is supposed to be. So, anyways, we start this chapter off, and we do have not just, and it's not just this section; it's also a bit in the middle of this chapter when Deku is talking to Spinner, where they're like, we basically get the opinions on Shigaraki from civilians, and they are kind of going into their thoughts on it. As you can imagine, a lot of them are very pissed off at the fact that he destroyed their house and destroyed their fans. Like, we have two college girls, I want to say, saying that he killed their he killed. I think she said that he killed her friend in the chaos, and the other says that her house was destroyed. I don't think they get a direct opinion on him himself, but they do say that we don't like him because he did this to us. Why would we have anything else but hatred towards him? Then we have that granny who was the one, I think was the same one who came to Shigaraki but then got scared away because of his creepy face when he was a child. So she just told him, I'm sure the heroes and the cops are gonna show up, so granny has to go. So it's like saying that maybe someone could have stopped him sooner or something like that. And then we have like a bunch of other civilians also saying how they don't like him and they hate him and all that. Then we have two who I think are two who I think are meant to be taken a bit, two who are meant to like kind of represent one of the flaws, one of the things that has to be changed in the world. Where we have one guy who seems to be a business guy who's kind of like, his destruction was meaningless. It was just regardless of how you look at it, it was just a tantrum. It was just a tantrum, nothing else. There's like no meaning behind it, which is like one of the things that people do complain about Shigaraki, that his reasoning and his drawbacks are kind of like he's just throwing a tantrum. He's not doing it for anything great or grand scale or anything like that. Which again, I think I'll go into it when we have Deku and Spino's conversation. I'm just mentioning it to keep in mind for later. And then we have another character who is told that that some of the investigation proves that Shiraki had like a really shitty life. And then that guy says that, yeah, he may have had the, let's not, and then the guy's like, let's not pretend this sob story is gonna justify his action or something, which is true. I think some people have it. This is also, I think, the problem that some people have. It seems like they have a certain, like, I think they're taking this chapter in a wrong way. Not a lot, but I do think some are having a bit of a wrong interpretation here about what Hikoshi wants to say. But regardless, that's what appeared from one of the people, that it doesn't matter what kind of sub backstory he had, because destruction is unjustified, which is true. Like, it is true that it's unjustified to say his sub story is like the reason why. I mean, Janto was also a very sub backstory, but he didn't but regardless of how I look at it, he didn't do insanely evil deeds. Like, even the evil deeds that he did were like pretty much failed robberies or beat up a few heroes and then leave. Like, comparatively speaking, Gentle just, honestly, I would make a case that Gentle probably would have gone off in a few years if even if this didn't happen, because his crimes were mostly just break and enter, and when you really and a few assaulting, I guess you could say that he assaulted police and heroes a couple times. That's really it for his crimes. So yeah. Anyways, we then have the moment with Spinner and Daku talking, where they seem to be in a private room. As Spinner calls Daku a murderer, which Daku does not disagree with, which is kind of again viewed by people like how ironic that Spinner is talking about murderer when their plan was murder, and they caused a lot of murder, which, again, I think it's meant to be. We're supposed to take this from Spinner's perspective, like, Shiraki was Spinner's friend, so obviously he'll be pissed that he's talking with a guy who murdered his best friend, his really only friend in a lot of perspectives, so it does make sense that Spinner would be angry at him. Like, it doesn't change it, but it is true. It's kind of similar with Deku here, where he admits that, yes, I am not going to deny that I'm not a murderer, because, there's like a bit of a question you could probably say, like, how much was it Deku and how much was the body already falling apart and how much was the other vestiges? But Deku agrees, yeah, I murdered Shiraki, I'm not going to change that, that is, in fact, the truth. So, yeah, anyways, then the doctor explains to us the reason why Spinner is able to still function and be a potato or a Nomo in this instance. He basically explains because they already had like a lot of research on the Nomus beforehand, since they had Nomus to test and experiment on since USJ incident. So them being able to reverse Spinner, who was just a very who just had a bunch of quirks put on him, does make sense that they will be able to reverse the effects of it to a point that he's back normal. Which I guess it's supposed to be like a. It's one of those things where I'm very iffy and really question if it was really the right idea, but I do get the idea behind this. Like, it's behind Spinner. Like, I do understand where Hikoshi is going for. It's just like kind of question if it's really the best idea, but regardless, Spinner that's the reason why it's back to normal. They had enough research from the normals to a point they could reverse the effects on Spinner's brain enough so he could, I mean, he still has some effects of it. Like, in this chapter, I think he talks very much like you murderer, he said to Darby Toga. Like, very much like still the effects of the transformation and the brain destruction and all that. So he does have effects, but he doesn't. So he doesn't. So he's not able to talk properly. But he's still able to function and talk relatively or understandably and coherently. So then Daku tells Spinner Shiraki's last words before he died, and then Spinner. So yeah, and then Spinner to these words is kind of like in a very much denial and kind of in a depressed state. He even thinks, I I don't know if he immediately freaks out after Deku tells him the last words, or if he freaks out a bit later. But regardless, he freaks out and transforms into a giant. His bulked up form. I don't think he has skills, but he's very bulked up. And the doctor even tells Deku that he can deactivate his quirks, but Deku just takes his hatred and all that, the despair basically, at first. Like, he doesn't even like flinch, he is understanding the situation. He kind of has like a more of a nuanced kind of perspective on this, and kind of understands where Spinner is coming from. Like, and Spinner is kind of in denial at first that the last words were meant for him, because Deku does clarify to Spinner, no, he didn't say for Darby, he didn't say for Toga, he didn't say for Compress, he said specific for you. He's the one that, you are the one that Shiaki considered the best friend, and Spinner tells to Deku that, yeah, he liked Shiaki the most, they were like gamers, they were bros, basically, they were gamer bros. So basically, like to a point that even like again, this is not really ever shown to us, but we can kind of guess like Shigaraki's we kind of have Shigaki in the beginning of the story. We talk very much like a gamer, and then we have Spinner, who is supposed to be very much a loser gamer type of guy, a shut-in. So we can kind of guess the two are connected, and we find out also that there's also that flashback panel where they reference League of Legends. So we find out in this chapter also that Spinner and Shiraki like share their favorites games. Like they talk about which on their favorite, and like I don't think Spinner says like that all of his favorites were Shiraki's favorites, but it was more like he liked all of Spinner's games. So even he wasn't exactly like, oh, these are my favorites as well. It was more like, oh, not my favorite, but I do like the game. Yeah, it was fun playing it actually. And I'm assuming that they were like, where they were sharing, oh, nice pick, not one of my favorite, but really good, solid pick, kind of deal. So, yeah, the two definitely had a very close friendship. I would honestly, you kind of argue that Shiraki and Spin had a better friendship than Deku and Bakugo in a lot of sense. Like, yeah, Deku and Bakugo did more for each other, but Spinner and Shiraki kind of clicked with each other better in Deku and Bakugo, who needed quite a lot of drama and personal attention to become, as good of friends as they are right now. For that moment a few chapters ago where Bakugo, even after immediately waking up and still being critically wounded and not being able to possibly use his hand anymore, would still rather go to his friend than anything else. So it does make Spin and Shiraki kind of just clicked very quickly. As then we just have Shiraki Spinner being in despair, and this is where I'm gonna kind of start talking about the thing that I think people kind of misinterpreting from this chapter. That is, Hikoshi is not justifying Shigaraki's murders. He's not making excuses. He's not trying to excuse. We're not supposed to be like, yes, Shigaraki was right, how dare they, or anything like that. What Hikoshi, I think, is trying to do with this chapter, with the way how he writes Spinner, is less from a perspective of they were in the right, or they were having like better goals or something. And more from a perspective of Spinner and Shigaraki were friends. They were really good friends. They were best friends. Spinner even says that Shigaraki is really the first friend that he ever had. So it does not matter how much how justified Deku is in his actions. It does not matter how much hatred towards Shigaraki is justified. The fact of the matter is, those two were friends. Obviously, Spinner would be pissed off that his best friend, the same best friend that you people are gonna be angry at Shigaraki for, okay, the same Spinner is what a lot of people lost and are angry for Shigaraki over. Like, it's justified that Spinner, it understand why Spinner would be pissed off that his best friend is dead, even if it's justified. So, to Spinner, it's understandable. And also, the thing, I mean, a lot of people, and the thing that all the civilians seem to miss, and what I'm assuming is probably going to be probably one of the final things in the My Academia story, is the fact that as much as people can call what Shigaraki did a tantrum, say, oh, a sob story does not excuse or anything like that, which it doesn't, but regardless of the things they're saying, The fact of the matter is, the fact that something as simple as a tantrum or a sub story is the reason for the half of Japan, or however amount of the Japan was destroyed and how many number of people died, is responsible for it, it should be fixed. Like, you shouldn't just say, oh, every time a villain who just seeks the destruction shows up and thinks, oh, that's just a tantrum, it's unjustified. It doesn't fucking matter if it's just a tantrum that's unjustified. Half of Japan, or whatever amount of Japan, is destroyed, people. It doesn't like, you can call it tantrum, but tell that tantrum sure resulted in a lot of casualties, huh? That tantrum sure left a number on Japan, huh? Like, that tantrum sure affected the world, huh? Like, again, it does not matter what you call it. The effects were huge. The repercussions were huge. The consequences are huge. So it does not matter how you view it. And it's not like, and to be fair, you're going to have some evil for the sake of evil, but Shiraki's backstory does at least explain. It doesn't justify, but it does explain where it originated, where it came. Granted, it falls into that, like, overly convoluted, oh, all for one, planned for so many pieces, so many plans. Like, literally, even Shiraki's birth was a scheme by all for one. Like, all that convoluity, but regardless of how you feel about that, it is the explanation on why Shiraki grew up like this. And also, it's not like the people are blameless. Like, those two guys who are kind of complaining about or saying it doesn't justify anything. I'm assuming this means you gotta try to prevent this from repeating, because remember, something that's mentioned is like a lot of quirks are becoming stronger and stronger, and more people who are in, as downtrodden as Shiraki in the world, well, their quirks are gonna be a lot more powerful. Like that, the guy that we saw a couple of chapters ago, you better help that guy instead of just say, a hero or a cop will come and help. Because, I mean, that could just result in that guy wandering the streets until he loses it and starts throwing a tantrum again that's going to destroy everything. Or anything in the future. Like, that's the thing. You have to, the society has to move on to a brighter future, and I think that's where the true point of this is. Like, Shigaraki is supposed to be a warning to people that people will have strong quirks. So if you see someone that desperately needs help, don't think it's that leaving them be is just and thinking, oh, a hero will show up and fix it, a cop will show up and fix everything eventually. Don't do that, because before you know it, that there's gonna be one more guy with an insanely broken and destructive quirk who's gonna be just left on the streets and completely ignored by everyone is thinking they're just gonna be a hero or a cop that's going to show up, and then before you know it, he's gonna be throwing a tantrum and there's gonna be even more deaths. You have to work towards it so there isn't gonna be people like that that ever. Well, you will never be able to completely remove it, obviously, but you should work to a point where it's gonna be minimal. So yeah, it does not matter how you view Shigaraki. The fact of the matter is, these are the consequences. That the consequences are the fact that he was just left on the street somewhere until All For One came and grabbed them, even if it was All For One's scheme. But regardless, it's a special case. Like, I doubt there's another All For One type of villain that can go manipulate someone from birth to be his ultimate weapon or something. But regardless, you still need to stop it. Stop it and prevent another Shigaraki. So that's what I think is the whole point of this. Like, this isn't justifying Shigaraki's actions. It's not supposed to make us agree with Spinner. This is meant to be more well. We understand where they're coming from. We may not agree, but we understand. And I mean, to some degree, we again I agree. Like, the word. Okay, we can sort of. Okay, we can get why Spinner's acting this way. We can get why Shiraki ended up the way that, and we can see what the consequences are. But anyways, after the Todako tells this to Spinner, he's about to leave. But Spinner tells him that he's not going to let you the hero just walk off and into a bright sunset or anything like that. He's going to. He basically quotes what Skeptic told him, or what Orphan told him on the two. Told him about the meaning of his name, or another way you could kind of view his name, like spinning a tail, so they would benefit. So Spinner says that he's going to do that. He's going to write a book about Shigaraki, and it's going to make the heroes look like villains and make Shigaraki more like a victim. And, basically doing that whole, that book that Dastro wrote, that Meta Liberation book that was in the League of Villains arc. But Spinner's going to do on that one, but a one for Shigaraki and his cause. But then Daku just looks at him before he's leaving, and he's like, "Make it get a comic and make it a comic book, and I will remember." Because Spinner knows that. Don't think you just gotta forget about us and all that. As Daku does agree that he will remember everything, and everything that happened, and that. And I think this might kind of hit. That might kind of, how do I say this? Like, it seems like Spinner might have actually kind of got this. What Daku said, he might have kind of gotten through to Spinner in some degree, because after Daku says that he will remember everything, he said Spinner gives like a encouraging word to Soji, because he tells him, "Tell the octopus to give the world hell," or something like that. So I kind of wonder if this is gonna be another sign that society is moving forward when Spinner sits down and starts writing a book or comic book or whatever, which, considering the fact that the guy admits that he's not really educated very well, and the fact that he's now even also suffering some brain damage, I even kind of questioning what kind of book will he even be able to write here, or a comic book that he'll be able to write. But regardless, Spinner, when Spinner like gets the pen and starts writing it, I do wonder if Spinner is going to like have a little bit of a reflecting moment, and instead of making Shiraki like the victim and the heroes, the true villains or something like that, it's not gonna go into a direction of more like you're gonna the consequences of the actions, and it's gonna be more of a this is what not to do if you want another Shigaraki, if you want another the war. Like this is what you shouldn't be doing. So it's gonna be more like a more of a lighter tone. Like it's not gonna be a anti-hero propaganda. It's gonna be a cautionary tale type of story, which would probably be for the best. Like I could totally see like Hawks being informed of Spinner's finished book, and then they maybe like check the book, and they like maybe make like a snarky remark about, okay, the writing is not good, but it's like, alright, I think this book or this comic book is what the world needs. So it's like more encouraged to read. Like this, it's like the main message of the book is a cautionary tale what they should not be doing, what they should not be, what they need to do to prevent another Shigaraki from emerging in the world. So I could see like that kind of idea. I mean, okay, I'm not entirely certain that's where we're going with Spinner's this book or whatever, but I could see this kind of being the direction we are heading with this book and this being addressed and being told. But anyways, after that, we then cut to overhaul, because I guess now, I mean, we're just kind of sort of wrapping up a lot of these things for these characters that we've seen a lot of times and like getting all events through. As we just have in this chapter, we see have overhaul in a prison somewhere, probably in like those waiting, those like holding things facilities until you get sent to a power prison, because there's like a bunch of people. Well, there's a bunch of destroyed prisons, and they need to like fix and rebuild them, and there's pretty much there's like, where do you put all of these people? So overall his arms was like put into one of those like minimalistically holding facilities. But anyways, Overhaul's master, the dad, the Yakuza boss guy, the one that took him in, is there as Overhaul is like, Master, like he's happy. Well, I think Overhaul is his boss and all that. He's happy as Overhaul, and but how as Overhaul was Yakuza boss is like, yeah, with the medical knowledge that the doctors have these days on quirks, they're able to reverse whatever you've done to me. Yeah, it took a while, but they were able to find them because had the Yakuza boss with them. They like had him in like I think we get even like a panel of the police in doing the overhaul, like finding him in that comatose state that he was in. As so yeah, they work together. Which too, if I do always feel like some of these things have to be addressed. Like you have abilities, like you have a bunch of these quirks. Like are you really telling me they aren't able to use them in a way where they'll be able to like fix a lot of these issues. Like they might be some that are not as effective as others, but I feel like any kind of basic healing or any kind of quirk that can be used in healing should be able to, after a lot of research and after a lot of like practice and training, should be able to fix a lot of these issues. So of course, it's not surprising that they were. So it's not surprising that they were able to reverse Overhaul's quirk a bit. So yeah, and that's what the Yakuza boss it tells Overhaul, and Overhaul starts to weep and tells him that he's sorry and all thing. But Yakuza boss basically like, yeah, you're sorry about what you did to me. I would be sorry about what you did to Eri. Eri, like that, like Yakuza boss is clearly aware of exactly the problem here. Like, I mean, yeah, what you did to me, the betrayal and everything, yeah, that's awful. But what you did to Eri, now that's actually the thing you should be sorry for. The fact you're more sorry about what you did to me than her, it just shows that you deserve this. Like, this is a clear punishment. And the Yakuza and the Yakuza's boss has like a kind of tells, or it's gonna give him pretty much the same punishment as like Endeavor has, where he's gonna spend the rest of his life coming to Overhaul every day to remind him of his actions, of his crimes, because again, Yakuza boss, like it's difficult to say where this guy ranks on the morality scale because it's a Yakuza, so he's like they said, like Yakuza was just kind of replaced by villains after the quirks emerged. So calling him like a morally better character is like kind of iffy, but I guess the guy at least has like the guy is reasonable enough not to do anything crazy, and the guy isn't like doing insanely evil shit. So the guy is kind of more allowed to be, and also he's like what, like 80, like what, 80 years old. Like he looks very old. So if we can probably, well, I don't think you would probably be able to find anything to charge him at this point. Also, just sort of a just generic yakuza thing. But then, and second, he's probably too old to really like be insane. And plus, his request would just be, alright, take me to my ungrateful adopted grandson. Son, son, I will have to remind him of the crimes that he's committed. Alright, sir, get in the police car. We'll be there in a few hours to go to prison number blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, so I wouldn't exactly be surprised if he's just, not being much. Honestly, he probably just is in a scene in an old person's home at this point. So, yeah. Anyways, overall, let's start crying and all that, but it also brought up that I guess Chrono never stopped you, huh? Just encouraged you that what you did was going to be better. Like he does acknowledge that there's more complexity than just Overhaul being an evil douche, but in the end of the day, his crimes cannot be forgiven. And he even tells that that the only one who has a happy life from now on is gonna be Eri because she has better people than you and me. Because you and me are just gonna spend the rest of our lives being tormenting one another. So yeah. And again, I think the reason why we have like this contrast where Shiraki has like a little bit more lighter tone than Overhaul is because Shiraki, he was raised to be a tantrum throwing villain to destroy everything. Like that was kind of the whole. This is kind of like a nature versus nurture sort of debate where like Overhaul wasn't raised to wanna do the things that he did to Eri. He wasn't raised for anything of that. Like he was literally given Eri to be like, hey, Overhaul, you see, my granddaughter over here who didn't want to be a part of our life, which is understandable, gave birth to her daughter, and Well, it turns out her quirk is a lot deadlier than anyone would really want. So, to a point that she killed by accident, killed her, and I think it was there that Ares' father ran away or something. But regardless, she needs a place, and since your quirks are kind of sort of work on a similar kind of scale, maybe you could help her. You want to not experiment on her to erase quirks? No, you mad? These are imagining like every single one in a book. Of course we're not doing that. I don't care how many times you tell me. We are not doing that. And then Overhaul uses Overhaul on him. So yeah, it's like Overhaul was the one who started. He wanted. I mean, his reasoning was from a good of his heart in terms of like for the Yakuza. He's like what he wanted to do to have to as thanks for taking him in, but then he completely abandoned everything else in his actions and just committed horrific crimes. So there was like a bit of a difference. Like Shiraki was brat to be the next big villain, but Overhaul just went down that path because of his own like desire or his own will and his own his own free will. Like he basically had no pushback from his closest confidant, but he did have pushback from his adopted father figure, so he should have known not to do that, but he didn't. Which I gotta give props to Hikoshi, the fact that he kind of handles these two situations with Spinner and Overhaul pretty in a pretty mature tone. All things considered, like this is definitely very deep and very hot, like kind of very supposed to be very like realistic ways how all of these situations would be handled. And after these very like deep moments, we need a little bit of comedy to lighten things up, as we have Katsuki Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki running away from new first year's fangirls, because obviously they would still get the most amount of credit, even though I mean I guess Daku isn't getting much credit because his new hairstyle is just so fucking ugly, like because everyone just insults him. Even Minato's like looking at him like, damn you too! Which is fine since it's like those two are the only two who've done anything. But regardless, I'm assuming it's gotta be like everyone's like being a bit popular, not just those two, but just like it's more comical having Bakugo and Shoto running away from fangirls than other characters. So yeah. Plus, they scored big wins against All for One and Derby, so that's probably also the reason why. It does make you kind of wonder when we're gonna be adjusting the Toga and Ochako thing, because like in the last chapter we kind of like were, for the last two chapters we kind of like building up to the next. Or is it three? I think it's two. Yeah, I think it's two. For the last two chapters, we kind of were building up to which chapter we're gonna from the League of Legends we're gonna address. Like we had the one chapter the one when they were in school when they were building up to to Dobby in the next chapter, and then we had in the last chapter with the building up to Spinner, and when we had Spinner in this chapter, but now we have like the fangirls. It's kind of like building up to Choco and Toga's confrontation or whatever happened to her. Like we don't really know what happened to Toga. That's the crazy thing. Like, did she run away or something? Did she leave the country? Did she die from blood loss? I'm kind of doubting that she died of blood loss. Like, oh, she had like the least horrific fate. But regardless, I'm kind of wondering where we're going with this. But anyways, we'll have to wait and see since I think we're in like 3 chapters remaining of My Academia. Well, can't cry now. We have to cry. We have to save our tears for the final chapter. So yeah. Anyways, next we have Full Knights of the Apocalypse, chapter 156, titled "In Search of Friends." Did I miss the beginning, or was there no beginning? Because honestly, this chapter is more like, I mean, it does make sense, but it's like, it's just what they're gonna be doing in the final page. So yeah, we start this chapter off with Meliodas and Elizabeth talking about the situation and everything, and they finally bring up Merlin because like Merlin has kind of been like, I mean, it's not that she hasn't been in the story in Full Knights, but it's like you have her just kind of sitting there with one or two comments, and then revealing that it's not actually Merlin, it's just a fairy that Arthur has disguised as Merlin. After he revealed that, he just killed the fairy, and then he stopped having his Merlin, I guess Merlin body doubles, sex bots around him. So it's kind of a weird sort of thing here, where about how like she was dressed Like I don't think she even ever appears in like a. I don't think they even mention her when they were like when the Chaos Knights or anyone's like talking about the Saturday Sins. Like she's a part of it, but it's like when you talk about the general group, not when it comes to like specific members. It's kind of a weird thing with Merlin. But regardless, she's finally being addressed about how she could be useful, how her information can help us, how her training would be very useful, and but they can't find her, so who knows? Like they also explained there were some rumors about her still being with Arthur when he started invading and all that. But it seems very likely that these rumors are now proven to be false because she hasn't really took a plane. And I've also maybe it's also like something to do with Waldane, since they were kind of clicking with her. So maybe there's like some kind of evidence. So maybe Waldane kind of disproves that Arthur has Merlin or something like that. But I don't know. It's just speculation at this point. But anyways, then we have our fears, or at least what I would consider a fear, in this chapter where we have the festival for the main group to pretty much interact and play, right? Like just a generic thing. Like they go into this. There's like some kind of crops festival or harvest festival in this one, where they just check out like interacting a bit, like first of all not knowing what they are doing, and then explain to them that there's a harvest festival. They also explain the whole that it's once a year, although there has been like a diminish on the stuff because of we had there being a bunch of a bunch of land stolen and all that. So there's like a lot of crops being taken. Like all those places are being the ones that are being mainly targeted. So there's a bit of a issue there. So there's like less, and they're kind of just depressed. But it's again, this is supposed to be a more lighthearted chapter. Like it's just supposed to be kind of interacting and being reunited after this whole thing. We even have like a little bit of a like addressing of Donnie's haircut, because remember in part one, Donnie had like this shaved part, really shaved part, and he gets that back because Percival tries his hand archer, but the same thing that he did at the beginning of the story where it didn't go into the target, but somehow behind him and hit Donnie's hair happens here as he again gets that side piece of his hair ripped, and he starts chasing after Percival. As I guess Anne and Nauseans never asked why Donnie has like that weird streak in his hair. I guess they never felt the need to, but it's just kind of a funny little thing because they're like, oh, so the mystery of Donnie's haircut is finally solved. Which is just kind of funny to think, but regardless, we have the characters just, kind of chilling and being kind of happy about that since, it's been a while, probably to like learn the load a bit. And yeah, anyways, then we have a bit of an earthquake a bit, which do not worry. I think there's even like a little bit of cracks on the ground, but do not worry. Percival goes to save his favorite, his girls being not analyzed when they're being kind of shaken because he can't grasp back. Don't worry, everything's fine. As Donnie's coming back, whoa! I'm kind of getting the vibe that Donnie is like a lot more physically better than the other. I mean, I get the reason why he went save the girls, but Nauseans is still technically not a girl, but let's be straight honest to ourselves. Nauseans is, but let's be straight honest, he is gonna be he is one of Percival's lovers. Let's not deny that part. So Donnie being kind of like just on his own is kind of says more. I kind of do have to wonder if there's like a. What I'm thinking about? Donnie does have a bit of a history in Four Knights of the Apocalypse being kind of like the underestimated powerhouse of the group. Like, not saying that he's insanely powerful or anything like that, or that he even compares. It's just that when you think about it, he often does perform or take a lot more damage than the other captains and still stands. He does often do a lot of shit in the battles. Or at least does a lot of major things in them. So it's kind of an interesting sort of thing, a little contrast between Don and he's kind of like, you kind of think he should be like the bottom, but he's also kind of like he seems very capable. Because like you have Anne, who's extremely capable at swordsmanship to a point that she's even comparable to Chaos, to Holy Knights before even getting the proper Holy Knights training. I'm assuming that she got proper Holy Knight training during the time skip. You have Nauseans, a half human, half fairy, half giant, with a bunch of other, with a very versatile magic ability, and all of and now even the fairy king powers. You have Chian, all of the elemental spirits. They have Isolde, who's like the most comparable, but she has like a very lot of power behind her attacks and all that. But Don is just telekinesis and a small dagger usually, but now he has like a little shield as well. But he's only pretty capable in combat when you really break it down. But anyways, we didn't find out why this shaking it has occurred, and that's because Darkmon, the kingdom that what was his name? I believe the Elizabeth's sister, uh, not the older sister, the middle sister, made with Guillermo, I believe. Wasn't Viola or something, or Violet or something, like one of those names. I think it was on a V. Made after sometime during the end of the original series and the Full Knights of the Apocalypse, like that one, it has now vanished, and that's very big because I think the entire kingdom and everything kind of just poof out of the existence. Which now is the question that, like, is this like a feat that was supposed to does this mean like there was a coup at the kingdom, or is there something else there? Because we don't really truly get the idea of how Darkmont and Lyones operates exactly, because it's there. It's more of a footnote in the story. Like, they mention it. That's where Elizabeth's sister made her kingdom, and that's why it's so close by. I believe there's like an extra chapter when Gilfandor goes with Chia and mentions how his cousin Guillermo's daughter to, is so repulsed by his personality at this point. She doesn't even want to talk to him or even come visit. So it's like they've been mentioned a few times, but we don't truly know, and it's kind of like now a question like what happened there, or just like a feat, like they don't need to be actually, the Chaos Knights don't actually have to be there, or at least they don't have to actually have consent. Like, Chaos Knights could literally just sneak into a kingdom, do a ritual, and then just like teleport the whole kingdom away. Like, maybe there's not so much of a free will there. So I'm kind of getting the vibe that we're gonna have a lot of these captives in Darkmount now be locked up in that prison that was mentioned in the beginning of part 2. So I expect them. So I'm assuming those either that they're gonna go to the whole character regression thing similar to Jericho. We'll have to wait and see exactly what the heck is going on in that side of things, but we'll have to wait. As then we have Meliodas being pissed off at this because something as close as Darkmount was completely taken away from them. I mean, it's not like it's like a day's walk from Lyones, but the two kingdoms are in a seeing distance. If you get my drift, like, you can see you can look at in a direction of Darkmount, and you will see it from Lyones. And if you're at Darkmount, you can see Lyones if you look at the direction. Like, you can spy each other, so they're too close. So they're pissed about that, and Guildfonder and Hauser appear, with Hauser now having a little bit of a mustache, which considering the fact that Hauser, the end of Saturday Sense, was kind of like comparing us to Askin as kind of a bad side. You get what I mean? So, anyways, Guildfonder and Hauser want to go investigate because Guillermo was one of their best friends and all that. So it's kind of an important thing that they do investigate. But Manila says that he can't send them to do anything because now he needs to calm the people, because people saw an entire kingdom that was so close by completely vanish into Camelot, and while they're probably convinced at this point that Camelot is filled with is very evil and has like about the what they're offering is a lot worse than what they are saying is they do need to like calm everyone down. Like, you can't just ignore it. So Meliodas is kind of more worried about what they're gonna do about that. But luckily for him, Percival's platoon shows up and tells him that they'll handle the situation, basically. Like, not in the normal sense, but like, don't worry, we'll go and reunite the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, and then we're immediately gonna go into Camelot. Because remember, like, there's no reason why they can't go into Camelot now. I mean, Nauseance is a bit of a questionable thing since now he's not human anymore, but I think this is gonna be addressed sometime. But right now, what they need to do is like all right, we'll get the Four Knights back together, and then we'll go into Camelot and beat them down because like there's nothing stopping them. They have the portal. Like it's not like when they were escaping. It's not like when they were escaping. Where Donnie's and the Anne's groups were escaping Camelot, and Palgat did that whole like little that little blockade so they could use the portal to travel back to Leones. They were exactly that thing was destroying everything. And all they did was like use it. So right now, all they need to exactly do is get the Four Knights together. So they said they'll go with the Four Knights and they'll depart immediately, and Melios agreed to it, and they go. Which I'm happy that we are moving the story forward. I'm kind of disappointed that we're not getting the meaning, but we could still get the meaning in the next chapter since, I mean, the thing is, we do need a bit of a status update on things, like what exactly is going on with the Full Knights of the Apocalypse. So I could kind of see this, like, next chapters where we find out a lot more information. Like, there is going to be a meeting, but it's not going to be with. But Percival and his platoon are not going to be involved in it or something. So I could see, like, that being the thing where we would just get information from Meliodas to whoever's gonna be there. I'm assuming Hauser, Gilfondo, Bond as well. I doubt King and Diane because unless they immediately sent someone there to pick them up or something. But regardless, whoever's gonna be there, and we'll find out where all the Four Knights are, and that's like where the Percival's platoon is gonna be, or maybe they're gonna address it in the next chapter with Percival's platoon, like getting the information they got before they would left. Because the way this chapter kind of makes it look like is like the guy just immediately went to go search for them, but it's like you guys have no supplies. Do you guys even have your weapons with you, or are you just swing it? So I mean, I'm assuming there's probably gonna be a little bit of addressing that thing beforehand, but regardless, we have them departing, and I'm assuming we're gonna find out, which I'm assuming they're gonna go pick up Lancelot first, because I think Lancelot's the only one whose location is somewhat known, and I believe that's Bond's kingdom. I think it's like said that I think Bond in the beginning of the part 2 said that his son hasn't even left his room anymore. He's just depressed and said that he failed his friend. So I'm not entirely certain if he's somewhere else, or if he would be somewhere else, or if he's just there. Since Bond didn't refer to say anything else, I'm kind of guessing that he's kind of just there. Tristan is said to be unknown, and in this chapter we even found out that apparently Chion hasn't, or Kion or whatever, hasn't communicated with the Guild Fund in about a year, which was another reason why Guild Fund wanted to go. But Donnie or Anne mentioned that when they escaped Camelot that it's been that Isolde and Kion went to go get look for Tristan. So it's like one of those things where they couldn't really communicate, or is it like Kion just didn't want to communicate with his father? I don't really know. It's just they mentioned that. Like who knows? Maybe they were also captured. Again, it's hard to say, but regardless, they have no idea where Tristan is. And Gawain, well, quite frankly, I have no idea about Gawain. You don't address her in any sense or any kind of words. I'm kind of going to have to assume they know where she is, or at the very least, they have an idea. Maybe they are kept somewhat in contact with her, since I feel like they would probably mention if two of their prophesized knights just vanished. I mean, I know Tristan is more of a priority because he's the son of the king, but you'd think they would at least, mention, oh yeah, Gawain as well. Like in Undead Unlock, when the characters were kind of processing, reacting to whole apocalypse happening, they had the under members were mentioning, oh yeah, Lotla is with Union now, and oh yeah, Barney as well. Those two are both together. They're kind of way, so you kind of think they would at least mention, oh yeah, Gawain also disappeared, but I'm kind of guessing that she didn't because they're not reacting at all. I feel like they should have at least been able to mention that she's vanished. So I'm kind of going to have to guess that they know where she is. So maybe they go with Gawain, although I could make a case that Gawain is too far or somewhere where they can't really follow properly, or maybe it's like loose information. So it's gonna be like one of those. All right, the next time Gawain updates the characters in Leonas, that's when they're gonna inform Gawain and Percival's groups that they should meet up or something. Again, I'm assuming we're gonna find this out in the next chapter, since I think it's, time that I feel like at this point it's time that we address where the heck that woman went. I mean, even if she's in a brothel somewhere, at least tell us which brothel, at least tell us in which kingdom or which brothel she's in or whatever. But anyways, Percival's doing all the partying and to get the band back together, and we'll see how far they go against Arthur in this in part 2. So yeah, anyway, that's the end of the chapter, and with that, we have the final chapter to discuss, and that is Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, chapter 163, titled Black Whale. I'm guessing this is supposed to be a reference to this Paris and all that, and as well as Acnologia, but I'm kind of weird that they are referring to the chapter as Black Whale, since Acnologia. I mean, I know Acnologia is a black dragon, but and in 100 and in that rock they even refer to the dragon design of Acnologia as the black dragon, but still kind of a weird thing. But whatever. So we start this chapter off with Natsu confusing Ferris first for the Ferris in his world, because remember he left off with Ferris in a pretty good site. But then after a minute and looking at her again, he's like, "Oh, it's Aedelas Ferris," which is a nice reference to Aedelas. So, which is a fun better choice. But then I think the David and the I kind of want to say the Joker, the British Joker or something like that. That guy, Brian. I know his name is Brian, but still, is like, aren't people in Atlas without magic? How would you be able to come here and all that? As then that Ferris explains to them, "Oh, I get you know some versions of me. I acknowledge that, but I'm not your Ferris because she's a shrine maiden. I am not Ferris from Atlas because she's just some village girl somewhere. I am Ferris from, I think she called the place Earthland or something like that. Not certain if Earthland was ever referenced, it might have been. I do think there's been some teleportation and dimensional travel or whatever. But regardless, she mentions that she's that Ferris, and she's different. But honestly, I'm not entirely certain what we're supposed to be interpreting from Ferris, because it seems to be implied, especially pretty soon, the fact that this Ferris is a little bit this Ferris raises a few questions, because when Ignia doesn't want to exactly play with her, propose or her, agreement to working for him, he goes to punch her, but then she sprouts Acnologia's arm, and she blocks the attack, and then does kind of like, takes Ignalia back. I mean, it's not as scared as he was in the last chapter when he smelled Acnologia on her, but he still kind of shook, and he kind of avoids this. As Ferris has a will to want to get back to work with him, because again, like, she came here to offer her service so she could be the Black Wizard in his Dragon King's ritual thing. As then they're kind of taken aback by the Acnologia's arm, and they kind of compare this arm to the Acnologia arm that Ignel, Natsu, and Ignia's father ripped off before he died. So they reference that hand, and it seems to be implied, or very strong hint at that being the same hand, because we have that moment, and then we have like that hand on the ground, and then we have Farah sewing up there, and like, I'm guessing absorbing the hand into her body. I'm not entirely certain on how exactly the timeline here works. Is it supposed to be like a couple of days, hours from when that happened? Or if this is supposed to be implied to be a more recent occurrence? I feel like people would acknowledge the Acnologia hand on the ground and wouldn't just ignore it completely. So I'm not certain when we are supposed to take Ferris. Granted, appearance-wise, I also question, is this the same Ferris? Because, I mean, alright, I'm going to kind of assume that the different skin tone and all that, it might be from Acnologia more so than anything else, because I think Acnologia's human form was kind of a similar situation. But, again, it's kind of a weird thing to say, and also what's her plan. I think she does mention something like she wants to I don't know. It says she wants to destroy everything, or does she also just want to go into this dragon realm or something, or this dragon world or something? Regardless, she wants to be in there, but Ignia doesn't listen to her, or at the very least doesn't want to, give her that because he doesn't believe that he needs a black wizard, which makes me think that this ritual, this true Dragon King ritual, is gonna fail. I mean, it's kind of a weird thing when this guy like says that the dragon ritual that was used previously was not a correct one. Now he's going to do the right one, the true one, but he's missing a central piece in it. So it's kind of a weird thing about these two. So I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be explained a bit later about this information. Maybe Ferris is gonna explain more in detail on why a black wizard is necessary for this ritual. But regardless, Ignia just tells the Signario sisters to start the ritual, to be like the pop-off ones. Not so that like those two are the ones that are supposed to start the whole thing. But regardless, they are, as they start the ritual. Probably because if they're gonna be the first to introduce from the Fire and Flame Guild, they might as well be doing something more significant. So regardless, to start the ritual, as then when he starts, which does kind of piss off Ferris that he's not listening to her, not letting her to join him. But regardless, again, I'm certain this probably like you can't just drop this and not address it in some form of way. So I'm assuming it's going to be like revealed. I mean, the beginning stages of the True Dragon Ritual seem to be going as expected at the bare minimum, but it doesn't seem like the rest. But the rest is kind of questionable. But anyways, Agnologia then starts to say, or Ignia starts to tell Natsu that, see, do you really? So your group successfully sealed and took care of the five dragon gods. But tell me something. Did you not think that? But tell me something. Do you really think they were fighting you seriously? Because the dragon gods were never fighting you seriously. I guess this is supposed to be kind of a moment where it's like we're supposed to have a more favorable view on the dragon gods because, like, three of them got killed from the perspective. I mean, wait, we'll adjust this. Just wait a minute. Like, three of them were killed, so do you really think you beat them because they were fighting you seriously? Which, to be fair, they now were. Like, I believe Alderon's cores were all destroyed before they killed Alderon. Dogumon's orbs were all destroyed before they killed him. And okay, honestly, only Verness was the only one I could really say that was properly fighting at what we should assume is the full power. But regardless of how you view it, like those are like the only ones you could argue. But regardless, we then have Ignia saying that was like a big shocking moment, a big realization as Ignia and the rest of the, well, whatever remains and I guess sealed forms of Celine and Macrophobia also actors is like, I don't know, like it's kind of difficult to really understand what exactly he's going with here because it seems like, okay, it seems like Celine and Macrophobia have no idea about their transformation. It seems like them being, we're neutral. We are neutral. We are not dealing with this shit. We're not attacking the king humans. We are living with him humans. I am the. I mean, was he the king of that water kingdom? Or was he some? Or did he have some other title? Well, regardless, I live here and I love living here, so I'll be ruling peacefully. So he was like, I am now the leader of the Abolis. I'm the guild master here, so we'll just peacefully live as we have. So the two are kind of like no longer issues for anyone. They're no longer like necessary defeats in terms of like missiles would be like, oh, you managed to tame these two's rage to make them not subservient, to make them live alongside humans. All right, I'll consider this solved then. And the other ones are destroyed. But Igna explains that they are not fully destroyed. Like he uses Dogma as an example. Like he destroyed Dogma by his cores, the things that truly like, I guess the true parts of his body are actually in the labyrinth that was kind of forged together, like the one that was previously mentioned, that was created. So he still exists in a way. And then that activates him. Not so this means that he's gonna be resurrected or not, because we have Macrophobia and Salim seemingly losing control and becoming dragons. Like we just see Selena reacting to this and being in pain as the Diabolus Guild is worried about her. While Macrophobia just immediately goes into his dragon form as his assistant tells him, why did he transform into a dragon? So I'm not sure this means they're gonna go on rampage or it's just gonna be like they're stuck in this like these transformed states now. Like uh, this is concerning. Why am I in dragon form and why am I not able to return back to my humanoid form? Again, my entire setup by kind seems to be implied that Macrophobia lost control a bit, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. I mean, to be fair, I think Macrophobia has been losing control a lot, but whenever he's not in that state, but regardless, there are something's happening with them, and then I think we see like do we see 5 flights or 6? Like I can't like remember the pound that we got. I mean, okay, one light is definitely Ignia. Then we have Macrophobia. Dogumon is addressed, so we do know he has it, which leaves a fifth one or sixth one. I think it's 5 because I think in the comment section on Reddit they were like all mentioning who's the fifth one then, because like the attack is 6 gods, but only 3 of them are still active, with one of them being just remains and active being brought up, which leaves only 2 gods. Well, which only leaves VNS and Alderon. There's also some people say that maybe Elphasion is the one of the dragon gods now or something. I don't know. There's something like maybe a new dragon god was born that was just not was under the radar because he was a new one. I mean, it's been a long time. You can make a case that maybe. I mean, we know dragons were around and survived some of them. Like they may not be as prominent as they were like thousands of years ago, whatever, or wherever Irene was in her normal age, in her time period, but maybe new ones. I mean, Celine did mention that she had like a bunch of. I believe Celine mentioned that she had like a bunch of kids or something. So it's not impossible. There is like a child. That there is still a dragon. There's like a new dragon. It was actually kind of not gonna lie. Before we got when we got introduced to Fire and Flame, I was kind of thinking that it might be like a child, that one of Ignia's subordinates was gonna be Celine's child. Like he didn't like his mother, or like that standard parental troubles. So I kind of thought maybe like that's gonna be one of the characters there, but so far it doesn't seem to be the case. So unless there's like implication, there's like one other that like one other is maybe Celine's child or something. I don't really know. It was just a theory that I had, but it doesn't seem to be the case right now. So we'll find out. So one light has to either be Alderon or Viennas. I mean, you could say Viennas because I think I think Viennas also had remains. Like Viennas was like a bunch of gold, so maybe we're gonna get Sabretooth still because they took like a lot of Viennas's gold. So maybe they're going to encounter Viennas, or maybe be Alderon because the guy was like a giant plant. I think that like this whole city was built on his body and all that. So you could maybe make a case that like a root of him also remain. Like awesome. Again, I'm not entirely certain there is 6 of them, or was there 7 of them? I think it was 6 of them because I mean it was 5 of them, but again I'm not entirely certain who could have been. Like again, I really should actually. You know what? I'm gonna check the panel again. Just give me a minute to check to see how many the lights were, just to be clear. Alright, so I'm looking at the panel right now, and it seems, oh, and I was wrong. There's only 4 lights coming out of the place. So we have, which are Macrophobia, Celine, and Ignia. But then we have one more that seems to be a bit more rare, which I think might be Macrophobia. Now, the words that, while I'm here, I also checked to see what he said about Dogumon. As Neil says, Dogumon had roots all over this continent, and he surpassed my power too. It was all for this day. So, which also, Ferris is a bit shocked that it's going this forward. So, again, I'm not entirely certain this is like supposed to mean that she underestimated Ignia's preparations or not. But again, it's kind of a weird thing to just introduce out of nowhere and not have some kind of deal with it. But regardless, we see 4 lights. 3 of them we know, and the other ones I'm kind of guessing. I'm not. It can't be Dogumon because the way how it's generally talked about. But it's hard to tell which one is the fourth. So we do. I mean, it seems to be important. It might be Elfeserion because he hasn't really showed up yet or not showed up in this chapter. So maybe that's supposed to be him, or people theorize it might be him, because otherwise it's like, who else could it be? I mean, you could maybe say it's Vienna, since, I mean, the way they do handle the Duke situation was kind of like, oh, he also disappeared after the Vienna was defeated, so I guess he was just another illusion, so you could maybe make a case that Vienna somehow survived the whole thing, but again, we don't really know. And I'm kind of going to have to wonder who exactly. So it's unclear who the fourth light is, but I'm assuming we're gonna find out in the next chapter because, it's kind of like we imagine we have to address like this. Like, you can't have a dragon god just be somewhere else and have no idea. I mean, it might be Alphasia, maybe it's gonna be revealed that VNS or Dogumon or Alduron survived, or maybe it's gonna be or maybe it's gonna be revealed that one of Celine's children grew so much in power on his own that he became a dragon god. Who's to say? I mean, I think there was some theories that like there might be a sun dragon god or something, but regardless, we have to find out about it later if that is true or not. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for the discussion of the series that I've read this week. Again, it's very few series, but I think I over discussed this chapter, so it should be still a very long video. But yeah, anyways, I hope you like this video. Leave your thoughts on the chapters I've discussed here and the chapters you've read this week in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more channels in the future, for more videos in the future. And with that's it. I cannot wait to see all of you mortals next time.